Heel toe with the flow.
Hey everybody, this is Alex of Studio 722 LLC. I'm coming at you with another, an audio thing right now. I'm starting a podcast as of today called Get in the Studio. This podcast will range anywhere from just my thoughts of working within the studio to anything from like tips and tricks to being in the studio, working with a client, maybe even having some clients on my show. I don't know. We'll see what happens as we go along with this. Anyway, today I wanted to just kind of talk about the start of Studio 722 from then until now. For me, Studio 722 started off as just like a little project studio, but it wasn't called Studio 722 at the time. I was more just going off my name as like just producing and recording artists. Well, not recording artists, recording myself. And pretty much for me, I was wanting to be a producer or DJ or something along those lines. I had my DJ name picked out, Mapper724. It's pretty much my old gaming alias from way back in the day, and I actually have a tattoo of it on my right arm. And but Studio 722 started off in my bedroom way back in early 2011. It's pretty much the whole culmination of me getting into audio for my regular thing in general. Pretty much it started out with me, computer, FL Studio, buying my first interface, which was a Lexicon Alpha. Freaking thing had no phantom power on it, which, I mean, I don't know why I bought it in the first place other than to just get audio from my computer to my M-Audio CX5 speakers. Those were my first set of speakers that I picked up all those years ago, and they're about 10 years old now. I got them on clearance for $279 for the pair from Sweetwater. Shout out Sweetwater, awesome. But anyway, with that being said, I still use them to this day just kind of as a reference point for my old stuff, to kind of give like a reference point of what I used to be on versus what I'm now on, which are a pair of Atoms. But anyway, back in 2011, I picked up my first pair of speakers, my audio interface, a little Akai 25 key, mini key controller, to control my software and plugins, But, just starting with that, it was just something to go with, and I was so inspired all the time, making new stuff all the time. But I worked on a bunch of my songs in FL Studio for the most part in my early years, and then I wanted to learn more about music production, music theory, and all that, which I still don't know music theory to save my own ass. But there was this website I was going to sign up for called the Computer Music School. I don't know if that's still operational or anything, or I don't know anything about it. I signed up for it, paid for a month, and never learned anything, but they said that I had to have the full version of Cubase to get the most out of the course, and I'm like, could I just use FL Studio? And they were like, no. So it's like, okay. So I picked up my first copy of Cubase, which was Cubase 6 Advanced Music Production System. Never really got into it at first until one day I'm like, oh, it comes with a tutorial DVD, so let's check it out. Well, I checked it out and I found out that Cubase has a step sequencer-like thing, kind of like FL Studio, but it works differently. And that's kind of what sold me on Cubase initially. as far as making it my regular DAW. But I've worked on programs from like FL Studio, Sony Acid, started to get into Cakewalk long time ago. But that was when I was like a kid back in like 2004. But that was when me, my brother, and my best friend were trying to get into music, and nothing came of that. But yeah, these days I use Cubase as my number one sequencer recording solution. Starting off in Cubase, I did practice the art of mixing and mastering. Well, more mixing than anything before I really got into recording. There were a couple sites I used to learn how to mix and stuff like that. The first one was Home Studio Corner with Joe Gilder. I don't know how I stumbled upon him. I guess I was just looking up tutorials for mixing on the internet. YouTube wasn't as full of tutorials as it is now. But overall, I was looking up on things on how to do mixing, and his website popped up, and I was kind of skeptical at first about joining this program and but I learned quite a bit from him. And he still has his website up, and he still does mixing stuff, but these days he works for PreSonus, you know. So if you ever see a video from PreSonus and it's Joe Gilder, yeah, I learned a lot of what I know under him. And there's another website I used to learn from as well called The Recording Revolution. That's still going strong with Graham Cochran. And both of them did a thing called Dueling Mixes, where each of them, where it would be a new song every month. They both would have to mix it, and the community would vote on it. And there were no like real prizes or anything, but the community got to mix the same song, and everybody gave feedback on each other's songs, and everybody learned from everybody. But overall, yeah, that's kind of where I started, and then I had upgraded my interface and my MIDI controller. I got the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 Studio Bundle and an M-Audio Oxygen 49 to upgrade my recording and stuff and production. So that's what I used for a lot of years and to record a lot of my clients that I recorded whenever I started really getting clients. I have a kitty on me right now. But with recording clients, I did a lot of my work on that first generation Scarlett with the microphone that came with it. You know, it wasn't a great microphone or anything like that, but it got the job done for what I wanted to do, which was mostly record vocalists. But I also recorded a couple other little instruments here and there with it. But you know, I typically record the rap artists and those that want to be rappers and singers and stuff like that. But anyway, back to the studio, you know, I kept growing and growing, and I had many iterations of my studio, from everywhere where it was located in the bedroom to what screen I was using to dual screens to single screen. I bought a new, also during those iterations, I had bought a new desk, studio monitor stands, and just to make it all look like legit stuff. So I'm going to be showing some of these pictures of where I started and where I'm now. But, I just kept buying more and more equipment. I bought lots and lots of plugins. Can't tell you how many plugins I bought, but also mostly all the freeware plugins I used to use. But, yeah, there's a plethora and a slew of them out there, almost an infinite number of free plugins these days. but yeah, I've had the pleasure of recording some pretty good artists over the years. A couple of my favorites come to mind. One is my best friend's niece. She goes by Keiru. She was pretty good learning experience for me. Uh, I've done a lot of her projects. I've also had a few of her friends come in the studio, which led to others and others and others. Um, but she's one of my favorites. Another one that's one of my favorites that I have on my portfolio, G.I. Jones. Guy's name is Deontay. He was one of my favorites for the longest time. I haven't recorded him in a while. I've been trying to get hold of him, but um his voice is just magical. Um and I also do remote mixing as well as recording. And I have one guy that I mixed and mastered like 95% of his album that just got released back in February. The guy goes by Savia Worldwide, and his album is called Red Summer. For me, that's one of my most proudest works that I've had the pleasure of working on with any artist. I mean, it's been a great opportunity for me. I think, I really do appreciate him, and if you're listening, Savvy, I just hope we get to work more. But recently I had a new chick come in. She goes by Trey Money. Um she's got an absolutely wonderful voice. Um the thing is she's a trans artist, which isn't a problem for me. But what's interesting is when you look at her versus what she sounds like on a microphone. Oh my god, it is amazing. Um, but I've had clients of all kinds and all skill levels come through my studio. Um, One of my first larger projects was with a guy who went by Doski D. You can find a video or two of him and I on my YouTube channel, um, which aren't really all that great. Because I am not a video producer, I am a music producer and engineer. Let's just get that out of the way. But with that being said, I did a couple music videos with him. I shot, edited, and put it all together, and um also did some vloggy type stuff. He was a nice dude, up until he moved in with me, but I'm not gonna bash the guy. He had it kind of hard growing up and all that, so I gotta give him some kind of leeway here. But yeah, it's just his music was one of the first larger projects I've done with anyone. We did 2 albums and 2 music videos. A couple of the songs I produced from the ground up, and 1 or 2 of the songs I was on, as kind of like a background thing. And but I recorded all the vocals for all the songs on those albums. I recorded and produced all the vocals on those albums. One was the A6 project and one was the Creation project. Those were some pretty good works of art. They're not up online anymore, but yeah, those were pretty good projects. But yeah, these days, for the last few years, since about 2015, of recording clients regularly and learning new skills and all that. My studio I sit in my house I'm renting from my brother, um, with nowadays like two sets of speakers. I've got the same MIDI controller. I've got a Native Instruments machine sitting to my right. I've got a rack full of gear. It's got two compressors, mic preamp, and EQ, which you're listening me talking to right now. And I've got a Mojave MA300 microphone. It's all going into a Scarlett 18i20. It's a damn good interface, for the money, especially $500, just for an 8-channel interface. You can't really beat that, right now, as far as price versus quality, price compared to quality, quality for the money. But I've also invested in not only microphones, but also some little shakers, some sticks. If I can get the other one, just doot. Some shit. What are those? Not maracas. What are those? Tambourines. I got a little hand tambourine thing. I also got a couple cajones in my studio, that I like to play the drums on. And I also picked up a guitar a little while back, a few months ago, so I can learn how to play that and add that to my repertoire of things I can record and do for clients, not just record vocals. Yeah, I've been in my current studio since the beginning of 2021, and right now it's June 11th of 2021, and I couldn't be happier, at least not at the moment. I'm doing pretty well for myself for the most part. I've got my lovely fiance, I've got a wonderful roommate that lives with us, and life couldn't be better at the moment, for what it is at the moment. Anything could always be better, just like anything else in the world. But yeah, with my studio name, Studio 722, the origin of that name is pretty much 722 is my birthday, July 22nd. So I had several different names that I was going through, trying to come up with. For the Record Music Factory, Al's House Productions. For the Record Music Factory is my personal label that I use to release my own projects on through DistroKid and all that, and get all the publishing rights through my ASCAP and all that. But yeah, I've done, I've went through several names, and I finally settled on Studio 722. And around 2018, I did the incorporation, getting my LLC. So this way I can file taxes properly and actually have at least some kind of protections legally for my studio and equipment, versus me losing where I live and all that, But overall, it's all a learning experience for me. I'm still growing as an engineer producer. I'm still growing, getting new clients, getting new business. I'm growing as a person every day, learning how to manage my health, my everything else. But yeah, Studio 722, started off as this little just I want to make music, to now it's I want to facilitate making music for others, facilitate others' ability to make music and for them to share their art and create what they want to create, But overall, it's just, life's been a blessing for me, I can't explain it other than that, I'm just some fat guy, that people come to record to, people come to record with, at least that's the way I see it. But apparently my skills have grown to a point where people find me and they come to me rather than me going to them. So, I mean, that's pretty fucking cool if you ask me. I mean, when people seek me out for my skills that I've practiced and learned over the years rather than me saying, hey, will you work with me? I mean, that's just amazing to me, But anyway, I've been doing this shit for about 10 years, regularly and semi-professionally, and, well, here's to another 10 more, and then beyond that until my death, so yeah, I'm gonna kick off this podcast here and kind of, just end this first episode with a little bit of a brief history about my studio, and a couple of the artists I've worked with, over the years. And again, here's to another 10 years of working in audio. This has been Alex Dickson of Studio 722 LLC, again with the start of a new podcast called Get in the Studio with Alex Dickson. Alright, catch you later. Deuces.
Heel toe with the flow. 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 Heel toe with